Assalamu alaikum students. Here we are in part 2 of our lesson, which is about plant structure and functions. The beginning of this lesson is a reminder about what we took previously in term 1 and 2. What is a tissue? A tissue is a group of cells that work together to perform a specific task or function. A plant tissue can be composed of the same type of cells or different type of cells according to the need of that particular part of the living thing. Since plants are also living things made of cells and tissues, and they show levels of organization, they are also made of different types of tissues. The 4 types of tissues found in plants are called meristematic, dermal, vascular, ground. What is the composition of each one, how they are composed, and what is the function of each one? This is what we will see later on. Let's start with the first type of tissues, which is called dermal tissue and also called the epidermis. The layer of cells that makes up the outer covering on plant is called epidermis. Let's check on the picture below. Here is the layer of epidermis. Do you see the green layer here? The outer one, it's called the epidermis or the dermal tissue. Epidermal cells resemble pieces of a jigsaw puzzle with interlocking ridge and dips. In this second statement, they want just to describe that the pieces are, or the cells, of the epidermis are looking like a piece of jigsaw. How they are arranged and their location, their position, they look like a piece of jigsaw. The epidermis has several adaptations to protect the plant and prevent water loss, such as cuticle. In this slide, obviously, they are talking about the type of cells that you have or you may have in the epidermis. Let's start with the first type, which is called, or showed here in this structure, called stomata. Stomata is a structure made of 2 types of cells, or 2 cells called guard cells. These guard cells, they have the ability of changing the shape, as it is mentioned here in the second sentence. Once they change the shape, this is going to control the amount of water that leaves or stays inside the cell. So if the guard cells, they are taking this shape, this opening will help water to leave. If the guard cells are changing their shape, the stomata will be closed, and the result will be the prevent of water loss, which is mentioned here in the first statement. We are also able to have another structure in the epidermis. It's called trichomes. This is the word, trichomes. What is a trichome? Where do you find it? How it is helping the plant? Let's first remember its location. Returning back to slide number 9. Do you see this extension? This is what we call trichome. Okay? This is what we call trichome. So technically, if I want to give a description for the trichome, I say some epidermal cells have hair-like projection. Let's highlight this with red so you can remember. Trichomes are hair-like projections. What they are used for? They are helping to prevent insects and animal adaptation. So plants are protected by the help of trichomes who look like hair-like structure that prevent the predation from insects and animals. And this is a real picture of how these structures they look like in some kind of plants. Since we are talking about vascular plants, we have other 2 types of tissues called xylem and phloem. Xylem is the water-carrying vascular tissue. Focus on this, is the water-carrying vascular tissue. What is it composed of? It's made of specialized cells called vessel elements and tracheids. How the xylem looks like, this is technically how it looks like. It is helping the movement of what? Focus here, of water. Let's make it in bold so you will not forget it. The xylem is a structure that helps the movement of water inside plants. This is a real picture of the xylem. This is how it looks like. and this is the location of the xylem inside one of the vascular plates. Okay? The vascular plates or the xylem is made of two structures. One of them is called vessel elements. The second is tracheids. Vessel elements are tubular cells stacked end to end. See? Tubular cells stacked end to end. Do you see here? This is what we call vessel element. This is another one. This is the first one, and this is the start of the third one or fourth one or the next one. They lack end walls, allowing free movement of water from one vessel element to another one. So what are characterized by the ability of water to move easily between the vessel elements, in comparison to tracheids, who are tubular cells with pitted ends and end walls. What the tracheids characterized by? They are characterized by the less efficient of moving water than vessel elements. So the two types of structures that form the xylem, they are called vessel elements, tracheids. The vessel elements, they are made of small structures called vessel element. Okay, their location is end to end, and they are characterized by the ability of water to move fast, while in tracheids, water and other elements, they are not able really to move fast inside the tracheid. We continue with the second type of plant tissues, which is called phloem. Water-carrying vessels are called xylem, while the food-carrying tissues are called phloem. The phloem is made of two types of cells, sieve tube members and companion cells. Before we go through any other details, first let's locate the phloem in comparison to xylem. For this reason, we're going to use only the second picture. The yellow one is the phloem that transport food and also the water to the different part of plants, while the xylem is transporting the water only to the different part of plants and according to the need of this last. Previously we said that the phloem is made of two types of cells, sieve tube members and companion cells. Let's start with the sieve tube members. As you see here in the picture, it's the part represented here. They contain cytoplasm but lack nuclei and ribosomes when mature. So once they became mature, their nuclei and the ribosomes, they disappear. They do not have. In comparison to the companion cells, they do contain ribosomes and the nucleus. For this reason, scientists they hypothesize that the companion cell nucleus function for both cells. Or let's say in our words or our language, the companion cell for each one of the sieve tube member, it is providing the help and the support for it to be able to survive and to prevent it to die, since it doesn't contain a nucleus, which is considered a very important organelle. Talking about the last type of tissues. If a plant tissues are not meristematic, dermal or vascular, at that time you will call this type of tissue ground tissues. Okay? So if these tissues, they do not represent any characteristic for the previous or the other groups, at that time you will collect them under or beneath the group of ground tissues. They consist of parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma, the three types of cells that we previously talked about in part 1 of our lesson. The function include photosynthesis, storage of food, water, and providing support. If we will go through the picture here, do you see this yellow part here? All these yellow, they do not represent any characteristic for the meristematic, dermal or vascular tissues. At that time, I am calling them the ground tissues. Here we are done with the 4 types of tissues. Hopefully you enjoyed the lesson. If you have any questions, I am waiting. See you next. Thank you.